All right, let's get straight into it. Today we are tackling a classic GCSE algebra question. You know the type, the ones with multiple steps that can look kind of intimidating at first glance. But don't worry, we're going to break it down together step by step, and I'll show you exactly how to lock in every single mark.
And that's really the question, isn't it? This is about more than just finding the right answer at the end. It's about having a game plan, a strategy, to take apart a word problem, show your thinking clearly, and make sure you get the credit you deserve for all your hard work.
Okay, so let's meet today's challenger. It's question 7 from a higher tier paper and it's non-calculator. This one's a perfect mix of algebra and some real problem solving, and it's worth a whopping 5 marks. Let's see what it's all about.
So, first up, here's the setup. We've got 3 shelves of books. Shelf A is our starting point. It just has X books. Then we're told shelf B has 3 times that amount plus 1, and shelf C has twice the amount on A minus 5. Simple enough so far.
Okay, and here come the crucial clues. First, we know the total number of books on all 3 shelves is 44. That right there is the key to our whole first step. Then we get some info about mass. Every book weighs the same, and we know the total weight of the books on just one shelf, shelf B. We'll put a pin in that detail for now. We're going to need it later.
And there it is. That's our mission. Find the total mass of the books on shelf A. It's going to take a few steps to get there, but it's totally doable, right? Let's get to it.
You know, the absolute first thing you should do in any word problem is translate it. You've got to turn those sentences into the language of math. We need to build ourselves an equation that we can actually work with.
Laying it all out in a table like this just makes everything so much clearer, doesn't it? You can see the number of books on each shelf, and you know that if you add them all up, they have to equal that total of 44.
And this is what that looks like as an equation. We're just taking the expression for shelf A, adding it to shelf B, adding that to shelf C, and setting it all equal to 44. This single line is the foundation for everything that comes next.
So we've built our equation. The next logical step, we've got to solve it. Let's dig in and find out what X actually is. That'll tell us how many books are on shelf A.
Before we solve it, let's tidy it up. We're going to collect all the like terms. So we've got an X, a 3X, and a 2X. Add those together and you get 6X. Then we've got the numbers, a plus 1 and a minus 5, which gives us minus 4. Look at that. So much cleaner already.
All right, our next move is to get that X term all by itself. To get rid of the minus 4, we do the opposite on both sides, which is to add 4. So now we're left with 6X equals 48. We're so close now.
And for the final step to get X, we just divide both sides by 6. And 48 divided by 6 is, of course, 8. Boom! We've cracked the first part of the code. We now know for sure that there are 8 books on shelf A.
But hold on a second, we're not quite done. The question didn't ask for the number of books, it asked for the mass. Now that we know X is 8, we can use those other clues from the start to finish this puzzle off.
So, let's check out shelf B. The expression was 3x plus 1. We just pop our value of x, which is 8, right into that spot. So 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1, and that gives us 25 books on shelf B.
Now, remember that piece of information we put a pin in earlier? That the books on shelf B weighed a total of 7,500 grams? Well, now it's time to use it. If 25 books weigh 7,500 grams, we can figure out the mass of a single book. We just divide 7,500 by 25, which tells us each book is 300 grams.
And now we have all the pieces. We know shelf A has 8 books because X equals 8. And we now know that every single one of those books weighs 300 grams. Time to put it all together for the final answer.
Let's write this out clearly now, just like you would on your exam paper.
It's a simple multiplication. 8 books times 300 grams per book gives us 2,400 grams. And that's it. That is the total mass of the books on shelf A. Job done.
But wait, getting the right answer is really only half the battle. What I think is even more interesting is seeing how an examiner gives you those 5 marks. Let's look at the mark scheme.
So the marks are usually broken down into a few types. You've got process marks for starting the right way, method marks for using a correct technique, and accuracy marks for getting the numbers right. Think of them as checkpoints that reward your thinking along the way.
So let's trace where the marks come from. You get your first process mark just for setting up that first equation correctly. Then you get a method mark and an accuracy mark for solving it and finding that X equals 8. Then you get another process mark for that step of figuring out the mass of one book. And finally, you get the last accuracy mark for the correct answer, 2,400 grams. You see? You're literally collecting marks at every stage of the process.
And this is exactly why that instruction, "you must show all you're working," is printed on the front of every single exam paper. It's your safety net, because even if you make a tiny mistake right at the end, showing all these steps means you've already banked most of the marks. Your working is the proof that you know what you're doing.
So the biggest takeaway here is this whole deconstruct and solve strategy. You break the problem down into smaller chunks, you turn the words into math, you solve it piece by piece, and you show every single step. It's an incredibly powerful tool. So now, have a think. What other tricky exam questions could you totally smash with this exact same approach?